Okay, I'm back, and this is like the fifth take of this one. Oh, okay. So this part of my video, I'm just going to show, I'm going to show some quilts that I've made. I'm going to talk about a quilt along that I'm working on, and um, a couple of things I've bought. So while I paused the video, I pulled out, I got the information for this. This red that I'm using for Savior's Praise is DMC 816. And the fabric is Thesby 18 count by Seraphim Fabrics. And I think that's how you say it. It's Thesby, Thesbe. And it's just a really creamy color. And not really a lot of modeling in it. So I wanted to show that really quick and give you that information. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is a quilt along that I am doing with my friend Jeanette and her daughter Heather. So you probably know them as Crafty. I want to get this right because I say the wrong name. Crafty Cottage Stitches on Flosstube. Jeanette and Heather. Jeanette is Carly Court Cottage on Instagram, and Heather is White House Stitchery on Instagram. Anyway, Jeanette and I was texting one day, and we were kind of talking about quilts that we want to make and kits that, quilts that we have kitted up that we really want to start. And I can't remember who mentioned it first, but one of us started talking about this quilt by Thimble Blossoms called Summerville. And I can't remember who said it first, but one of us said, "Oh, I have that kitted up," and the other one says, "Oh, so do I." And then Jeanette says, "Hey, let's do a quilt along." And I'm like, "Yes, please." So we are both going to do the Summerville one, and I think Heather's doing the Summerville one. So if you go back to their last video, Jeanette talks about the fabric that she's using. So go check that out. So as we were talking, I thought, why don't we announce it on our videos? And then whoever are quilters on our videos, they can join us. And, if you want to join us. So that's what we're doing. We have a hashtag. The hashtag is QuiltyVille, QAL. QUILTYVILLEQAL on Instagram. So that's the hashtag we're going to follow to post our progress. And we hope that all you quilters out there join us in making this quilt. Now you don't have to do the Summerville one because Thimble Blossoms also has Autumnville, Winterville, and Springville. So join us in on any of them. You can make any of them you want. This is an ongoing quilt along. It's not going to have an end date because who knows when we'll get ours finished. We're going to start them, but other shiny things may come up. And anyway, so I wanted to show you the fabric that I am going to use for my quilt. The fabric I've chosen is called Red, White, and Bloom, and it is by Kimberbell, and it's their new fabric line. It just came out, I don't know, a couple months ago, if that. I think I just got Happy Mail. And I don't know if you heard that, but the mailman sneezed. Anyway, so this is what I'm using is Red, White, and Bloom. So my fabrics. Very, let's see. Very summery and very patriotic. See, that's really summery. But yet you have very patriotic. And it has pops of yellow in it. So let's see if I can put these so you can see a little bit. So this is what I am using for mine. And then I am also going to, so I don't have my background or my backing fabric to show you because it is on its way to me, but this will be my backing or my background fabric. My backing fabric, sorry, for it. And I am going to bind it in this. This has, it's part of the line, it's got words on it. Oh, it's kind of hard to see. And this will be incorporated into it somehow. This is also part of the line, it's just I have yardage of this one. So anyway, please join us. You can quilt any of the, or make any of them. There's 4 different patterns to choose from. I think you can go onto Thimble Blossom's website and get the pattern. But I think you can also order the pattern from, your quilt store may have it. Just type in Summerville Thimble Blossoms and you're going to find an Etsy store or somewhere that has this pattern. So we are going to start it, I don't know if I mentioned the date because this is like the 5th take. We're going to start at Mother's Day weekend. So yeah, but you can start it whenever. You can start it now if you want to. You can start it Mother's Day weekend. You can start it anytime in May. But go onto the hashtag and post your fabric choices because I'd love to see everybody's fabric choices of what they're going to make, of what they'll use. But anyway, join us. It's going to be fun. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is what I'm working on with quilts. Sorry, I don't have enough room on my table for everything, so it's sitting on the floor right here. So I joined in on the Strawberry Social hashtag going on Instagram, also hosted by Crafty Cottage Stitches. And I showed you my berry keeper in the cross stitching part of the video. That is what I cross stitched for part of the SAL, or part of the hashtag. And I also made a quilt to be part of the hashtag. And this is my quilt. Everything that I used on this quilt is out of my fabric stash. And I did make a yellow strawberry because I just wanted something a little bit different in it instead of just all red and pink. They're red and pink. And I also did a purple one. So anyway, I love it. So I still have, I want to put a small inner border in it, on it. So I'm going to use, let's get this strawberry up right. So I'm going to do a small inner border with this fabric, which I used 2 different greens for the strawberry leaves and stems, but I had a little bit of this one left over, so I'm going to do a small inner border with it, and then this will be the outer border. So all I have left is to put on the 2 borders. And this is what I'm going to use it to use for the binding, and it's all quilted. And then I want to show you the background, or the backing fabric. This is my backing fabric. And it's just got strawberries on it. Strawberry and cream pops has the recipe to make it. Strawberry cupcakes, strawberry tarts, strawberry jam. Anyway, I thought that would be fun to put on the back of it. So anyway, I'll link everything I'm talking about. I will link below, or put it in the description box so you can go to those. I don't know if they won't be actual links, but anyway, you'll be able to go to those, the hashtags and the Jeanette and Heather's Instagram and their YouTube. channel, their Flosstube channel. All right, the next thing I want to show you is this past weekend, my husband and I took a road trip, and we went to, I followed this quilt company, this quilt store on Instagram, and it just all of a sudden clicked last week in my mind that where we were going on our road trip, this quilt store was there. So my husband was gracious enough to stop in at the quilt store. It is called Corn Wagon Quilts, and it's in Springville, Utah. And so it was funny because we went in there, and I walked around for a little bit, and then I found something I really, really wanted. And so I took it up, and I says, I want half a yard of each one of these, and it was a whole line of fabric. And so while she was cutting that, my husband and I kind of walked around the store, and they have an upstairs, a downstairs, their main floor, and then on their main floor they have some rooms with bolts of fabric, and the upstairs and downstairs has all bolts of fabric. The upstairs they had Lori Holt fabric, they had low volume fabric, they had fabric by colorways, and then downstairs was the juvenile room, so they had like kids prints fabric, the minky, things like that. And then the main floor had bolts of fabric, and then they had a room that had like wool applique stuff in it. They had another room that had like sewing notion type stuff in it. Anyway, it was a really cool store. And then across the parking lot was another building that belonged to them, and on the front part of it was a mercantile. And in there they just have like little gift idea, little gifts that you can give to quilters or sewers, or some that wasn't even quilting related, just kind of like a little gift shop. And then on the back side of that and the upstairs part of that was their quilting retreat rooms. So in the mercantile, I found this. This is not an antique. It is a reproduction, but I have wanted one of these for a long time because I have something I want to make and put on it. And so I got one. I always look, when I go to estate sales, I always look for things like this. I'm never successful. Anyway, while I was at the quilt store, this is what I got. I got this fabric. This did not come like this. I folded it. I just got a half a yard of each one of the prints in this quilt line, or this fabric line, and then I just tied it with a ribbon just to keep it together, and I keep it right there so I can look at it. This is the new Primitive Gatherings fabric line by Lisa Bonjean, and it is called American Gatherings. It's so pretty. So pretty. I can't wait to use it. And I also bought this book. This is called American Gathering, and it's also by Lisa Bonjean. This quilt is well worth the money. It has 10 quilt patterns and 4 project patterns in it. So there's one of the projects, a little pin keep with, these are wool stars you can put on there. A wool penny mat. Love this. And I've never done English paper piecing, but I may learn to make this. Anyway, so I think the first quilt I'm going to make out of this book is this quilt. This is my favorite one out of the book. And so I think I'm going to make this, and I'm going to use this fabric. And this fabric is more than enough to make this quilt. So I could probably get 2 quilts and a couple of projects out of this fabric. So, but that's what I want to make out of it. Anyway, so that is what I got on my road trip. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is a couple of finished quilts. So I had a jelly roll, and I thought, okay, I want to make something with it. So I have a book that has patterns that specifically call for jelly rolls. And jelly rolls, if you don't know, are this is what a jelly roll is. And it's usually like 42 strips, and they are 2.5 inches thick, or 2.5 inches wide, sorry. And it's all rolled up like this, pretty, and it's called a jelly roll. So I had this jelly roll. I don't even know the name of this fabric. I know I've had this jelly roll for several years, so this fabric is no longer available. And I decided to make this quilt with the chickens. And it is, there's 9 chickens. And this is applique. So you sew the jelly roll strips together, and then I traced out the chicken pattern onto the Heat and Bond light, and then fused it onto the jelly roll strips that I had sewn together, and then cut it out and made the chicken. So anyway, 4x4, or sorry, 3x3, so there's 12 chickens. And then it had this inner border, this outer border with this 9 patch. And I decided it wasn't big enough because I wanted it to be the size of a throw. Well, let me kind of go back. So I did the initial quilt, okay? I had a whole bunch of the jelly roll strips left over. So I used them and made another quilt, which I'll show you in a minute. Then I still had some pieces from the jelly roll left over. Like from the other quilt, I had like, they were 4 strips, or strips sewed together, but they weren't big enough to do a whole lot of anything with them. So I decided I wanted to make this quilt bigger because I want it to be a throw that you can throw on you while you're sitting on a chair in the living room watching TV or whatever. So I took over the leftover pieces I had and made a 16 patch. And I made 4, well, no. This one is a 16 patch. This one is like 4x3, so there's 12 in there. So I decided to do a scrappy border using these leftover pieces. So I put another inner border. I put the red inner border, this one. And then I used, this is white with red dots on it. And I just kind of pieced these pieces into the border, if that makes sense. And then I felt like it needed something else, so I appliqued eggs onto it too. See that? And then from the other quilt I made using the jelly roll, I had some leftover fabric, so I put an outer border on it. So anyway, I will post pictures of this on Instagram so you can see the full quilt in all its glory, but there you go. And then for the back, I went to the quilt store and just found this fabric. It matched the same yellow in here. And that's what I did. This has not been, the binding has not been put on it. I do have the binding cut. I just need to sit down and do it, put it on. So there's that one. So the other quilt I made with that jelly roll is this one. Let's see if I can. Okay, it's this one. So I just did 16 patches using the jelly roll, 16 2.5 inch squares, but these were sewed, they were part of the jelly roll that I sewed the strips together. And then this is just grunge fabric, and I can't remember the name of the color, but it's just like a navy blue. So, and this was actually the bonus quilt from that jelly roll, I guess you could say. But and then for the backing, I just put some navy blue minky on it, and you can really see the quilting there. Isn't that pretty? This is just a feather quilt pattern. And then just some binding from fabric that I had in my stash. It's got flowers on it. So anyway, I will put both of these quilts on Instagram so you can see them. I think that's it. I think that's all I have for you today. Thanks for joining me, and don't forget to, if you want to, join in on our Quilt Along. It's going to be a lot of fun, Mother's Day weekend, and I would love to see if you decide you're going to do it. Make sure you post your pictures of your fabric and your progress. And I think that's it for now. I will be back at the end of the month to show you, to kind of give you a recap of everything I did in April, and to do my May plans. So anyway, so everybody have a good day. I hope it's nice and the spring is doing you good where you're at. It's nice and sunny, but it is cold out there today. So anyway, we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.